Hey, thanks. Thanks for joining. We'll wait for a few minutes for a few more folks to join.
Sounds good. I'm also still debugging my audio or my video, so I'll return.
No
I'll
worries.
return hopefully with video shortly.
Sure, no worries.
Hello.
Hey, Stephen. William's here. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Atul.
How have you been?
All right, all right. Just swinging left and right, like everybody, I suppose. Hey, David.
Hello. How are you doing?
All right.
I'm the new face. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, David.
Welcome.
I'm just sharing the link in the channel so that everyone can join in maybe a couple of more minutes before we can start.
Hey, Mitch.
Yeah, so I shared the link to the meeting as well as the notes in the Slack channel. I'll put them here as well. Hey, Waldemar, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name a little wrong. Please correct me. That's perfect. Thank you. And here are the meeting notes and agenda. So it already has a few items that we added. And if there's anything that any of you would like to discuss in today's call, you can add in here as well. I'll also share that. Yes, so I think I'm sharing the document. You can see it on the screen. And like always, do put in your names in the attendees section. If you're new, please add it and have that new bracket there so that we know your first time to the meeting and we can know more about you. So you can do that. And then we can go through one of the items, all the items one by one, starting from housekeeping to the previous discussions that we have had, and so on. I'm still trying to figure out Zoom. Hey, William, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah. Atul,
Yeah.
with the risk of being rude, could we move the PAM assessment as a first item after the housekeeping? Because I cannot stay until the end of the call, and I would like to make sure that I catch David and also show what I'm working on, if that's possible.
Sure. Your order is my command.
That's not an order.
That's completely fine. We can discuss that. So yeah, I think we have quite a few people here, so we can get started. I am Atul. I'm your host for today. My first one hosting. So if I do a little goof up here and there, please forgive me. And yeah, I think we'll go through the list. I see there is David, who is new, who is joining us for the first time. So, David, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself and how you are dealing with platforms and what are the things that you do. So it would be great for all of us to know about.
So, hi, my name is David. I recently actually graduated college last year. I did my undergrad in mathematics, but a little way why this group interested me was a lot of my work has been focused on like platform and developer experience, as well as the largest blocker into what I'm doing is just trying to figure out how we can increase the developer experience as well as allow for faster delivery of features, prototyping internally, which is why I've been doing a lot of Kubernetes stuff for the past few years. And now I'm just working on just trying to see what's going on in the community and if there's any insights or ways maybe I could help give back too. But that's it for me.
Interesting, David. Thanks so much for joining. I think this is a great place to have your first step in the world of platforms. I mean, that's how I joined it. I was here a year and a half ago, having no idea about platforms, and then I found these amazing people, and then got to learn, got to contribute to a lot of things. So I'm sure you will have a lot of avenues here to learn as well as contribute to the various things, engagements that we are doing. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to introduce themselves if they're joining in for the first time? If not, then we could move forward. So yeah, let's get into the housekeeping stuff. The first one is obviously around the meeting cadence. So if you have been a part of this community, we used to do these meetings every second and the fourth Tuesday, but now we have moved to every 15 days. So every 2 weeks, sorry. So yeah, every 2 weeks we'll have this meeting on Tuesdays, and the link has been updated in the meeting docs as well. So if you are, I remember folks having issues with joining the meeting since last few times, but now we have fixed that. We have moved to the LF Foundation links. So all you have to do is just visit this link which is present in this doc. It is also pinned into our Slack channels, so you can reach the meeting from, you can join the meeting from there as well. So we have that link in place. So hopefully we'll not have any issues with missing meetings or people not being able to join meetings. Huge thanks to Colin and Abby for helping on that front and getting things sorted. So that's one. The second item, which would be an ongoing thing, I would be posting more about it. You'll hear from me, Abby or Colin, in the coming few days on planning for the Platform Engineering Day along with the booth activities. So from the updates that I have, Robert did give us a slot for the working group booth at KubeCon Salt Lake City. So we need to plan a few things around within that time, things that we can do, lightning talks or anything interactive or engaging for the audience. So there was a document that I had shared earlier with a few ideas that I had. I probably reshare it to the larger group where you can have a look at it, and then we can pick up a few things and we can get try to basically drive a few things at the booth as well. So that is something which is going to be an ongoing activity. I'll share it in the channel. So request all of you to participate in that and help us identify more and more events, interactive events that we can do at the booths.
Two small things just to add. So for one, people have been asking about platform coffees. So platform coffees are going to happen. They're going to be at Kuplo CUPLO, I think, coffee shop, which is just south of the venue in Salt Lake City. So people have wanted to know for when they're picking out their hotels and things, because it is bright and early at 7:15 a.m. So if you are interested, try and find a place where you can roll out of bed easy. And then the other thing is I just want to call out on the meeting cadence, like Atul shared exactly why we've changed. It makes all of organizing better. But one side effect is that puts us offset from the Canoe technical group meetings. So that was something that they had tried to do with us, but because they're every other week and we weren't, we still got ourselves off kilter a bit. But we have made sure to maintain that. So if you're interested in the more technical implementation of things like IDP Builder and the things that Canoe is doing, there is a Canoe interest Slack channel, and they meet every other week as well at, I think, the exact same time. And it should be on off weeks from this meeting. So
Thanks, Abby, for clarifying that. Those two things, so platform coffee and the Canoe interest group meetups happen if you're interested, more towards technical implementations of IDPs and things like that. So that's where the entire housekeeping stuff ends. These were the few things that I wanted to discuss with all of you. So I guess we can go into the first thing that we wanted to discuss today, which is the platform maturity assessment. That work has been going on for some time. And since we have William over here who had a short update to share on it. So William, you can go ahead and share whatever you had or whatever you have been working on regarding this.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Atul. So I promise to Abby that I'll be as short as I can. That means that I have to speak extremely fast. No. So basically, last time we had an impromptu call for the assessment work. I expressed the way I saw the work that was supposed to be done. So I suggested the work should be not led by a consultant or by a firm, but it should be owned and reviewed by the platform and team, the product owners, the engineers that are building platforms, and evaluate themselves. That's what I would like to, and then eventually confront it with consultants, confront it with vendors, confront it internally with business, whatever. There should be a report at the end, and it should be an action that is progressive, meaning, let's say we have a team of 10 people. Each one of these 10 people can take the assessment, can run the assessment, and they might all be in the same team. They might all have a different perception of what is the adoption, what is the investment. And I think that it's also good to confront those perceptions within the team, and eventually a consultant can also pitch in. But it's a self-assessment that can be done. I thought that a picture explain or something else speaks louder than a lot of words. So I built this, and if I can share, I don't know if I can take over. Yeah, I cannot share a tool. If you could help me make me a presenter somehow, I think. Yeah, now I can. So I hope you can share. You can see my screen. So I'm not a designer, so it doesn't look fantastic. But the idea is, and I called it Plato because I like philosophy, and I thought it was a cool acronym. So the idea is to have a series of questions which are scored kind of the direction that David was going. But what I thought of using is something that probably the new David understands, which is divergence. So diverging from the ideal state that I call for the moment 4 because of the levels of the maturity model. So the way it would work is we would have items that are necessarily negative. Let's say now, for the moment, I know that these are negative, and it would immediately give you the state of the divergent state of your aspect. So let's say an investment score, the maximum state is 4. That's your perceived level, and every answer that is not this a state of 4 would be a -1. So that's how you play with divergence, right? So, but of course, for now I'm using -1 and 1, but I expect it to be something like 0.5, -1, and 1. Just to, maybe I'm going too deep into it. So let's say the only thing is I have to define the questions, right? So I don't have, I just put some not sure, no, whatever. These are just example questions. Let's not focus too much on it. We update it. And then what is the download? So the download, which is not working at the moment, but it will, is a prepared template. So the way I envision it is a template, which is a document that will be filled in according to the answers that have been given. So there are patterns that give, this is your state, these are the reasons, and these are the levels that are estimated where you are. The reason why I want also 0.5 is because you might be in between states. Let's say the roadmap. Yeah, all right. I don't have a fully blown roadmap, but I am publicizing internally where we are and what is the platform. So this is my idea, to make this a self-service item. Now, I hope I didn't go too far off the 5 minutes.
Absolutely not, William. And I think, it's great that you brought this topic up. A lot of us have been engaging in discussions around how to make this more effective. And I think there are a few questions which are there in the chat. And I think, Michael, Siam, Marsh, you can probably share your thoughts on this as well. Or if anyone, yeah, David, I think I see your hand raised, so maybe you
So
could go
William,
first.
I can see that you were not able to resist writing an app. I desperately wanted to do that.
When you
But-
said the spreadsheet, I was looking at the spreadsheet. I didn't see the whole message. I was like, I can write an app, and then I saw your message, and I was like, well, I
So
couldn't resist.
the one issue I had with writing an app is apps need to be hosted somewhere. And I don't know enough about local like I'm not a JavaScript developer, and I think if this could be a static thing that just goes in a bucket or in a GitHub thing, that would be great. But I didn't feel like taking the time to figure out how to do that. But it did make my brain hurt how to do some of the calculations and mapping, because I'm not a spreadsheet developer either. But I like this. The only kind of question I have is the template report seems like it would require a lot of content that doesn't exist, because we don't have a library of patterns for moving from one level to another, and or what to do if you're scored at this level, which we need, but might be, maybe the first download can be a really nice color coded version of your maturity.
Absolutely. My vision. So I see a lot of hands up. I just replied to David. So as to where host it, it can. What I did, I have avoided using JavaScript, also because I'm not good at JavaScript. So I've used Python. I prepared everything to containerize it. Guess why? And it can be hosted on a laptop. It can be hosted on premises. It can be hosted wherever you want. The document, yes, that's the hard piece, absolutely. The way I thought of putting it initially, at least, is justify why the score, justify the minus divergence to 2, or the so say not say you are here, you should do this and this and this to move next. No, this is just the reasons, and maybe link up to the maturity model. So, but absolutely, the work of discussing where you what you need to do to bring you somewhere else, I think it's there is more to do. There is a library to be developed, or at least maybe a consultant to be speaking with. There is more work, David. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, well, and it could be another. I mean, I mentioned in the deep dive that that could just be the next phase of either the white paper or the maturity model itself, or then it could, it should all work pretty together fairly seamlessly.
Yeah.
I will stop talking.
Thanks, David.
I think the next phase is exactly like it. I think it's the prioritization of efforts, both around exactly where to host the app or how to build the app, as well as the like what are the next set of like papers that we can produce, blog posts, like suggestions, tools that we can do to help people, like depending on where they land, is stuff that we definitely have to do. I think I know that, so there's clearly a lot of passion around getting what is going to be the user experience, the user interface for these questions. But one thing I'm seeing as a trend, which is a good sign, is that this multiple choice seems to be consistent. So probably tells us we need to be creating multiple choice questions. And like that, if we can start generating those questions, I think I have some questions around like, do we need to break up our questions by thing on the table, like which aspect it is? Because I think actually a lot of times a question can actually influence more than one aspect in certain ways, and maybe we don't want people kind of gaming the system or whatever. Like it's like just ask some questions, and we worry about the complexity of where does that fall onto the table rather than them having to think about that. Think about platform engineering, always trying to reduce the user's complexity of the tool rather than how much can we take on. So that was the one kind of big question I had was around. It seemed like the big difference here, what that I hadn't heard yet, is around this divergence scoring. And so I'll be honest, my first reaction was this is why I didn't do math in uni. My second reaction was it was honestly the gut reaction of, ooh, those are a lot of negatives. And so what I was trying to decipher was what people would see. Because one of the big things that we fought for with the maturity model as a group was to make sure that people who read it didn't feel like downtrodden by their answers. Like wherever they were is factually where they are. And that's okay. And it might be the right place or it might be the wrong place, but it's truth, and they can now have the power to make a decision accordingly. And when I see negatives, I feel like that creates emotional responses. And so I don't know if that was just because this is the raw format or if you had some other like plan there, but that was something that I was curious about.
Yeah, it's very good. I also didn't study math. I studied physics, but
Yeah, just physics.
I use divergence because it is indeed the raw format. I needed to understand. I did not want to break the questions in percentages of. That's the or what, like David did, which is percentages of, right, 0.x. I wanted to understand how it would behave in a graph, or how, and divergence just it gives you that idea right away. But no, I'm not going to present negative numbers saying you are a -3, and
Perfect.
regardless if you are not 4, you are nobody. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just a sign for me to say what's working behind the scene and what's not working. That's all it is. But it's not the level is not going to be -3. The level is going to be 3. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
David, Anne, I think, and Mars want something.
So I'm a bit new and I don't know how like quite these meetings work, but one of the things that maybe I could suggest is, based on some of the stuff I've dealt with previously, and this is just like maybe an idea, is when we've dealt with various DoD maturity models, or how we measure like internal digital transformation against various entities within the DoD. It would be just a maturity model. So it would just be 2 buckets instead of a range of score going from target to advanced. And it would be like, if you hit X amount of target ones, you're considered good in this scale. If you hit X amount of advanced ones, you can consider this whole bucket checked off. And so it would be in the different realms of technology, you would have multiple different sort of these pillars that you can either be target on those pillars or advanced on those pillars. And each pillar would have 10 to 15 capabilities you would mark against and evaluate for.
Yes, I understand that methodology. The problem that I would have with that methodology is that you can. So the fact if in the investment aspect you are scoring very high, it would sum up. That method would sum up with the adoption, and it would look like the adoption is also very high. So the being at 4 for the how the platform engineering maturity model is built, being at 4 at one aspect doesn't mean that you're going to be that you are or that you want to be at 4 in another aspect, or that you need to be. So that's why there is no summing up. You sum up within one. That's
Sweet, thank you.
But thank you, Marsh. You want to
Hi,
say something?
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, I put it in the chat, but just to call it out also, I think we should be careful even about calling it a score, because scores suggest an opportunity to win. I mean, they often are like, how do you measure yourself versus others so you can determine the winner at the end? Like, scores are just heavy, they're fraught with that. And so I think we should be careful about positioning an ideal score, for instance, and the word score are both things to be cautious about. This is more like, how mature are you as a person? What are your opportunities for growth? Like, there's no high score you could ever win, right? And so I think that also gets at the point that David's making in chat about, like, we want to be careful about people trying to game higher scores. That's not an honest assessment. Like, this only works. This is a tool to help you understand the opportunities for your platform, or what might be holding back your success. Like, where should you be? What makes sense to invest in next? I think that, like, however we communicate and frame that, I think is really important.
Yeah.
By the way, it has nothing to do with the approach that I love having. I think this wants to be an app. Like, it doesn't want to be a Google sheet. Like, that's useful for exploring and understanding. And it was really neat to see that, David, your work on that in the last week. So it wants to be an app. I voted also in chat for a GitHub hosted page, lightweight HTML and JavaScript. That seems like the easiest thing to operate. Fewest moving parts to me. Anyway, this is great to see, William.
No, but your points are very good, Marsh. As I said, don't look at this as I'm trying to steer with terms, with negative numbers. It is a proof of concept. We are not scoring and we are not gaming results, but it is to build that perception within the platform engineering team or people that are in the platform engineering effort initiative in the organization, to understand to see where they would fit in the platform engineering maturity model. And it's not to see what they need to do next, but to understand why they don't fit as well in that what they thought it was their level. So no, absolutely, you're right. Score is not the right word because it implies competition kind of thing. But yeah, it's, maybe I should just say investment level. I should have written, but it's just a, see it as just me testing out.
It's unfair to show up and then invite like input. I didn't mean it in any way to be critical. It's just like my only concern about seeing the approach here is that we should be really careful in how we position what maturity is. That's it. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I will cede.
Yeah, thanks,
I'm
Mark.
not sure who's next. I am, or Colin.
I think Colin was.
One thing that I do that I found is really helpful is find a way to present like you are most like organizations that do X, or this like the way you answered, here are some suggestions or other things that other organizations experience at this level, or at this type, or demonstrate these traits, or have these pitfalls, or have these opportunities, or something like that. When we do consultative reports for that, it's very much in that approach. It's like, here's the content from the model, and it's really, really effective to show the bullet points that each of the aspects have, and the cloud native maturity model is really good for this as well. That it gives you a practical example. You can say something like, kind of based on what you've answered, organizations like you tend to not have an executive mandate or initiative that drives investment for the platform, or something like there are traits and things like that, and you don't have to necessarily present a score. I really like, if anyone's used the temperature thing from Team Topologies, it's a free sign up. Go try it for like self-assess yourself or your teams, or go through the example assessment and look at the report. But they do present a score and kind of a bar and a little map and a chart, but they give you good examples that again are practically are here are some of the things affecting your score, or here are things that organizations like yours may be experiencing, or you should consider your team size maybe is a thing. It just kind of gives you some things to look into, but it's less kind of score focused, if that makes sense. Just kind of weighing in. Sorry.
Absolutely. As I said, the score is it's I should have taken out that word, but it's.
I personally like it because you have to benchmark against something and have to be able to find a way to show progress.
Well, the idea really is just to give the number, the level number. So the level numbers are from 1 to 4, as we know, and I should have just said investment and just put the number 4, but it doesn't help me. For the score, it's just but I need that negative there to understand what the backend is doing. But I don't see this as something, at least initially, as something that is to open up the conversation. What you are saying, and also Marsh is saying, is more the end state. The end state should be this effort should open up a conversation of what's happening outside when an organization is not doing the investment, but doing the monetary investment, but doing the people investment. What's happening when they do not put out a roadmap, or where they focus on internal developer relationship for their platform. Absolutely, that's the end state. But we need to get to the end state with steps that are, I think, we need to take gradually, and we need to give a benchmark. Indeed, this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I took a lot more than 5 minutes.
No, I think it was a healthy discussion, and what I was definitely going to say is, because whatever you shared, I'm sure based on the discussions that we have and the meeting notes that we have already taken, there's a lot of interest from everyone here around this topic in terms of either it's about building or hosting the application, or more around the type of question, the scoring mechanisms, etc. So I'm more than happy, if required, we can set up a deep dive call. Focusing just on improving this and then taking it to the next level based on everyone's feedback. So I'll probably put in a message in the group, and based on if everyone wants it, we all can discuss and probably schedule a quick 30-minute or a 40-minute call to discuss on this and see what are the next steps.
I definitely think getting to questions is where we need to be focusing right now. Because once we have the questions, then we can worry about in parallel hosting and like designing, right, hosting, and follow up documentation. So anybody who wants to help with that, that's what we're going to be looking for. So.
Absolutely, questions and the answers are the priority.
Perfect.
Yeah, great. So yeah, that's one thing that we had to discuss today. Thanks so much, William, for sharing the tool that you built. Like somebody already said, good to see a tool on top of just Google Sheet, because it makes much more, the whole user experience easier as well. And let's discuss it further to, take it up to the next level. Great. So I think the next item on the agenda was around platform as a product block series. I think the last time we had some discussion around this was mainly around the interviews that were happening, and then there were some challenges which were around closing the loop basically. So the people who had showed their interest in being interviewed didn't turn up, or whatever. There were some challenges on that front, and also we did discuss a bit around the transcripts, or the answers that we have taken from folks during the interviews, and how do we represent that. And one of the suggestions was we could do it in the GitHub repo as well. So that was one of the things that we looked at last time. But yeah, if anyone is here from the platform as a product team, if we could have something around any blog post based on this responses that we have got, or any other ways that we can highlight it for the larger community, you can go ahead and share your thoughts on that particular front.
So Michael, I think will have a bunch to say about the actual interview stuff, but I think we should keep the platform as a product blog series a bit separate from the interview and research, and also resulting blogs that will come out of that.
Okay.
What we started was intended as a blog series about getting product thinking out into platform teams, and we need to continue that process. I have some ideas for new topics, like how to write user stories that are actually user-centric, rather than as a platform engineer, twisting things around. But we need more things like that, how to implement product thinking, how to interact with users, stuff like that. And then, it feels like we're kind of getting underway with the research. I see Colin now like driving more of that stuff forward. And then we need to do analysis. We have a few, and we need to get transcripts and get them to where more people can see them. Michael, do you want to be there?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, on the research side, this week we're carving out some time to see if we can reliably translate video into transcripts that we can then run synthesis on. Since we're doing this in a kind of distributed way, it's kind of hit or miss on what we get back. Not that we're getting back a lot right now. We have a handful of videos from interviews. Some already came with transcripts. The rest, we just want to reliably make sure we get high fidelity transcripts. And then we're going to kind of time box it and do some light synthesis on what we have so far, just to get some kind of early insights that either lead to a blog post, so we can start kind of evangelizing a little more, and things for the conference, some early insights. We're also working on getting the we're almost done, and we'll share it with the group for feedback. Taking the script we have for the builders and turning it into a survey that we can send much more widely, so we can get more aggregate data to kind of round out the insights that we're getting in depth from the interviews. And so we can see which kind of industries and segments and size of companies that we're actually hitting, so we can see where we have gaps, right? If we're only really, 20,000 plus banks and telcos, that would be quite, a pretty significant gap in the quality and fidelity of the research. That's kind of where things are now.
Did you want to show any of the artifacts? I know you were looking to show the form with at least a draft of the submission form.
I'll hold it up now. We have a submission form for those folks that have done an interview to submit the link to the interview and some metadata around the interview. and the survey. I'll post both of those out. But really, we need just more folks right now who are willing to go to their networks for now until we get more signups from people who want to be interviewed and run the interviews with. You know, there's enough people now who've put up their hand in terms of volunteering to kind of be a secondary or open to the idea of being an interviewer, but not so many that are actually driving interviews.
Sure. So maybe I think you can share the survey link or the interest form that you have. I'll obviously try to share it with my network, and I'm sure everyone here, whoever is, related to or have more folks in those zones in their network, they can probably share it with their circle as well. So yeah, do share the link. I'll definitely share it in my circle, and let's hope we get some more folks interested to share their stories around platform engineering as a product.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Cool. So, yeah, thanks, David. Thanks, Michael, for the updates on this. If you need anything, I mean, obviously, like you said, we need more folks to interview. I'll probably try my best in my capacity to reach out to more folks and, guide them to the form or interest form that you have, so that, we have more people from the industry giving us details. So I'll definitely help on that. If there is anything else you want to, please feel free to drop it in the chat, tag folks if you want to take this thing further. Great. I think one of the last discussion items that we had was there is the blog post, which is, we have a PR for it. I'll just put it in the chat as well. And yeah. So if you go through this, this has been reviewed by me, I guess. I think Abby has also seen this, and this was basically the PEM level workshop case study that Dylan had written about. We did mention earlier that there wasn't any Google draft or anything before, so there was a PR here. So you can go ahead and have a look at what Dylan has submitted. And if you think there is anything that needs to be added or something that's conflicting with the group's idea or everything in larger aspect, please feel free to go through it and share your thoughts so that we can close it and probably publish that as well.
Yeah, I think Tyler was saying he needed a bit more time. He was on the call earlier, which is too bad because you may have been able to chat about it. But he's being responsive and taking the time to look at the feedback. So if anyone else wants to add any comments on there, I'm sure he'll incorporate them when he gets the chance to review. So have a look.
Yeah. And on the topic of blog posts, that is something which I like. If any of you have any interesting ideas that you feel we should be talking about on the blog post, do share your ideas with all of us. We'll probably schedule a one-on-one call if required, or get more inputs from the audience, from the larger group, and then have something written on the platform working group blog as well. So I'm always open for it. Please DM me if you have any interesting ideas, and I'm sure we all can work on and get some new blog posts published based on whatever you have done or things that you think about. Right. I think before we can open a space for larger discussions, I know we don't have much time, but a couple of minutes that I wanted to discuss around the Platform Engineering Day that's happening in Salt Lake City, as well as KubeCon India. We have a representation here as well. We have a talk where we would be talking about the platform engineering group, what the group is all about, what are the activities that we do, what are the tools that we have created, the assets that we have created, and how people can be a part of that. So on this front, what I would be doing is, we have 10 minutes at Salt Lake City, which is basically at the beginning of the Platform Engineering Day, where we would be sharing the updates. So what I will do is, I would share a document with all of you, in the channel soon. And the idea is to get updates from each of the different subgroups that we have, which are working on different things. Things like the platform as a product discussions that are happening. What we have done, what are the goals of doing that discussion, and also a CTA for people to join in and as someone who can give an interview. So that was one. The assessment tool that William showed and what we all discussed would definitely be other aspect of it. So I'll list down all these things. I'll share it with all of you, and if anyone who is a part of those groups working on those different things, do provide your updates in terms of what's happening, where we are, and where we want to go ahead. So that will really help us convey what exactly we are working on, and that way, anyone who is in the audience would. If they're interested in a particular activity that's going on, we would definitely have a lot more we would definitely have a lot more people to help us drive a lot of things to closure. So that is one thing that I wanted to put. So I would be sharing that document maybe in a day or two, and I'll try to reuse it in KubeCon India as well as Salt Lake City as well. So yeah, that is one help that all of us are collectively looking for from all of you, because that's going to help us provide exact updates to all the people who are attending the platform. Right. I think if you look at the agenda, we are fairly at the end of all the discussions that we had to. But before I think we close it, and I see that Marsh has a question here around the assessment tools. Marsh, we do have time, so I think you can just unmute and say, and I'm sure a few of us can pitch in.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I see Colin has his hand up too. Colin, if that's an old hand or you want to jump in, go for it. I was just asking in chat. It like if someone set an OKR for their organization to increase their platform's maturity score by say 0.5 point over the next quarter, does that seem like a problem to you, or is that a good thing? Like, I think it's an interesting way to think about what scoring means for this kind of tool.
I think that could be our discussion topic for our next 10 minutes if we want to go that way. The only thing I'd do is just very quickly open the floor for any other topics that aren't assessment oriented, just because we've already spent a good amount of time chatting assessments, and I can be biased because that's a project I'm involved with. So are there any other topics that people had wanted to try and spend some time discussing today, whether they be a blog post that they looked at or another project or anything else that they wanted to propose for the next 10 minutes?
I won't propose 10 minutes, but there is a summit for project to product going on. If you look for it, and it's got a lot of team topology stuff, and we talk about platform as a product, but just generally doing product oriented things inside of organizations is still pretty hard. So it's a good model for some of the change stuff required.
Nice. You could split time between the two, to be fair. That sounds like a good topic as well.
No, we don't have to. I don't know that we have to discuss it. I'm just letting people know there's like 2 days worth of content out there.
Great. I think Sam also shared a link to Lou, who had spoken about IDPCon that's happening. So if any one of you are interested, to be a part of
Be
it,
there
and
if anyone else will.
right. So yeah, that's one thing that came up in the chat. So if anyone's interested, that's another thing that's happening.
I think Saeem might be there, who's here. David, I think that's who was asking, so he might be at the event.
Okay. So assessment again?
That looks like a very pay-to-play event, doesn't it?
Which one?
IDPCon. Nearly all vendor speakers.
But it's not that expensive either because it is.
Which is good.
Right.
For that reason, right? So you get more attendees at least.
If you ask around and you know anyone speaking, you can get a free, I got a free pass basically.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Then I guess on to the question from Marsh. If your OKR was to improve by 0.5 on the assessment, would that be a problem over the next quarter? Personal opinion, I don't think so. I think it's a little bit too broad. Like just because like just improve by 0.5, like you could probably do something that maybe wouldn't be as impactful, but you technically move up. So I think you're trying to look for the constraints in the system rather than the easy wins would be my concern with something like that being an OKR, more so than using the progression. So like the concern I would have would not be using the using that scoring as a way to measure progression. It'd be more like I'd want to make sure people are thoughtful about like where they it's like 0.5 on adoption, if that's the thing they care about, would be less painful to me to see than 0.5 just on overarchingly where do they sit. I don't know. You
I
seem
don't
pained by it
disagree
though.
with that. Oh no, a little bit. Like, I think it comes down to OKRs are a way in which to keep in focus what is important, and like, but the moment you start to tie your compensation to how well you meet your OKRs, you're not necessarily using them as the way to keep focused. So to me, it's sort of an unfair setup to say the question the way I said it. It was a trick question because like you know, it's going to reflect the health of your organization, how you approach these things in the first place. I think it's possible to do it right. I just think when you, like words like score, like to say it another way, you know, do you want to? How would you feel if you started to see people posting to LinkedIn? I'm going to be conflicted about it about how they over their 2 years leading the platform team increased the maturity score from 3.1 to 4.2. Right? Did you? Have
Well,
you?
and that's
Assuming you've done that honestly, great.
but maturity. I mean, the maturity level is a set of behaviors, right? And not a score. And what we're trying to do, and maybe, you know, what Abby was getting at earlier with maybe we should ask questions that, you know, score across multiple areas because many of these things do, right? And you're really trying to get people to understand capabilities. I pasted in a link to CTO levels, which is an interesting framework that kind of takes a lot of context into account and tells you where you need to be. And it's of course, you know, it used to be a closed system, and now it's like a driver for consulting and services, right? So, but at the same time, anyone can look at it now and just decide like, I have this much revenue, I'm this size, I'm at this round of funding, and I should be, and my industry, all sorts of things, and then say, here's where here's where I'm not up to par for the context I'm in. Because I think that's important. That's not really handled in the maturity model. Like if you're a small startup, you don't need to be completely productized with your internal platform, right? So maybe that's another aspect of like the next maturity model step that would add all of this, how to get from there to there or here to there is context. Because if you're aspiring for the highest level in a team of like, or a company of 5 people, that might not be a great idea.
I think that's a great point, and I like the example.
I think even if you're big, it's a question of cost in the end. It depends how much it could be very expensive to move to the next level, and then the question is does it really make sense for what you want to achieve?
And, you know, and that's a good, it's almost like an indicator of some part of the maturity model of like, are you aligned to business value? Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, you know, a lot of places are going to look at these platform things, and it's actually kind of it's a sub idea in the maturity model, but really like alignment with business value, right? And the purpose of a business is kind of key for being able to execute, you know, all the way up to the highest level. It's kind of implied that if you get to the highest level, you're aligned with business value.
You're enlightened.
Yeah. As opposed to one consultant I remember once that referred to one of his clients as benighted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
think you have to have leadership alignment to get benighted.
Or I think it's disalignment. No, it's not being knighted. It's being benighted. It was like this. He was referring to some country bumpkins, or what he felt were country bumpkins.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I am interested, Stefan, if like you are speaking about and doing a lot of work at your organization right now around maturity of like product thinking and things like that. Like, how are you tracking that, if at all, like the growth that you're doing? Is there a way that you're trying to point at like success of, hey, we've invested in this and we're now getting this outcome? Celebrate, or yeah, how is that?
Not yet, but that's what I mean. I think the product maturity model is a good way to do that.
Okay, so that
Because
aligns with like how you're thinking about it then.
Yes, because I think it's a good way to communicate up to people who are way higher and who are not necessarily into IT, and so to have a discussion about this is what we could do to improve the platform, and then get into a discussion about this is what it would cost and this is what it would bring. Because
Cool.
else you will get the children of the backseat effect. Is the platform finished yet? And then this is a good way to explain. So this is what we want to do in the platform, and this we can do more, we can do less, and we have to look at which investment makes sense.
There are a bunch of things I liked in that. I do think it's an effective way to communicate upward what the work, why we're doing the work in the first place. So that I think is awesome and a great point. I do think that's also a reason to be scared of the word score, because when we call it a score, executives may fixate on that and say, well, why isn't this higher? What are you going to do to raise your score? Why don't we make that your OKR? Like, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I had the effect as well. There were some areas were quite low, and then some people got really scared. I said, oh, wait, but if we go there, it means that, and it would bring that. So maybe it's okay not to focus on that part very much at the moment.
Yeah.
And so you're pointing a little bit at the visualization there, I think, Marsh, and that like, do we tell people you are level 2, you are level like 2 of 4 or something? Or do we like highlight the box on the model, which like is still level 2 of 4, but like it's contextualized within the model and has like no level 2. It's called, I know these words, I swear. Like
But that's what I did
is,
in the sheet version. Like I just made the
exactly.
matrix and I put, eventually it was going to be, conditional coloring or something like that.
Yeah.
But
The
goal wasn't the score was going to be entirely invisible to the user.
And I think that's why I'm being a bit of a Debbie Downer, I know, because it's exciting to think about how it could possibly look in the future. But I think the reason that the CNCF papers across all the working groups, and particularly what we've seen with the platforms ones, white papers, have been so well received is that they're meaty. Like they're first and foremost have good content, and then the display of them honestly is sometimes it's their worst aspect. And we can like improve on that, but like having display without the content is not what we're aiming for, right? And I don't think that's what anyone here is saying that they're trying to do. Just to be clear, I'm not like accusing anyone of that, but I think right now we are still way too early days in content to even know what the best display is going to be yet. Whereas I think we were talking about display a little bit when we were a little bit further along in our last set of white papers. So I'm just trying to hold back that excitement just enough to get ourselves a decent set of questions that we can then figure out how best to
and
like leverage.
That's why I made, so I know the sheet isn't the best user experience, but it's a good experimenting experience. And I wanted a way for us to, we were talking about tabular format last time and like, how do we align? So, and I brought that up. So I figured I'd give people some way to do that. And so the only thing, I mean, regarding William's thing, I think it's a little easier to experiment in the open with the sheet. And then you can extract with CSVs or whatever to get things. Although I noticed he encoded a whole lot of the questions. So,
which is cool. Some of probably
that was,
the true false ones as well. Like I think yeah, I think the big thing I'd maybe ask you, David, is with that spreadsheet, do you have any suggestions on how to get started? Do you think people should just drop questions in as they think
Just
of
drop
them?
questions. That was, yeah, the next thing, like, I ran out of steam, right, to the point I got to. The scoring will probably need to be changed, but I think, yeah, just dropping the questions we have in and starting to see, my whole goal with it was to say, if we went through this as a user and we answered these questions, would it give us a fair shake at what level we're at? And start to, prioritize around that. Something that
Yep.
you were talking about in terms of like questions that score against multiple factors, like I wouldn't even want to try and do that in a spreadsheet. That would
Yep.
that would drive me nuts figuring out how to do that. I don't understand why there isn't just like a Python API to treat it like a database, basically in the background. So yeah, and we're at time.
Awesome.
So on that, how do we get the questions in? Does people want to take sections, transcribe? Like, I feel like we could do a lot asynchronously if we have a place to do it.
And I think that sheet sounds like the right place to do it, in my opinion, until we find a
Yeah, as
better
a starting
place, right?
point.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it's not.
definitely a starting point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say dropping things in. I'll just like, from me personally, I am personally quite stretched until after KubeCon, which is unfortunate because it means I won't be able to get a huge amount of data into there before KubeCon, when we might be able to get feedback at KubeCon. But I am more able to do like reviews and support of other people. So if other people want to drop stuff in, like this is a good time for everyone to get involved. So
Right. I'll see what some AI can do with the doc and the questions.
perfect.
All right.
All right. I'll see you all
Cool.
later.
See
Thank you
all.
so much.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
hosting, Atul.
Good hosting, Atul.
Thank you. I hope I'll do better next time.
See you.
Thanks and have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.